Hey everybody, thought I'd give you a quick little update on what is going on with Bitcoin. Look at this thing pumping like crazy. So kind of as I've discussed in previous videos, it's these orange lines that we're looking at. This is a channel and it's going to break out. So we've got a couple of different things. Especially this is the fun part of trading too, is like looking or charting as you look back at this and you're like, how off was I? How bad was my guessing of the future? But typically the structure side of things, you kind of adjust it as it goes along and it ends up being pretty decent. But obviously the channel hasn't changed. We had this pretty strong level of support right here where we found support here. And this was pretty much our last like run down. So we went from the top to the bottom, the top to the bottom, the top to the bottom, here and here. But then really when we went back up, we only came down about halfway. I don't remember what it is. I'd have to go look it up, what the percentages are, but it's typically halfway. I want to say there might be a lower the higher percentage that it comes here. I could be wrong on that. But anyway, look, it came down halfway, showing that the selling pressure just isn't enough to get bought up. Obviously, when it kind of came up here, we just needed to confirm. Once we've confirmed, which is really what happened today, or yesterday rather, now it's just a matter of, cool, what's going to happen with kind of running up. So we really have these three lines that have been, if you look at other videos, kind of the areas of major resistance we have to break through. Obviously we blew right through that. That was like nothing. This has acted quite well as well. But obviously the top line is the most important part. If you remember from several months ago, I talked about how this is open interest. Basically, once we formed this high and then this high right here, all this open interest in the range highs was set, and there's just tons of liquidity here. I mean, just tons and tons of liquidity. So we have to revisit this really before we can kind of do anything else. As far as, well, this is kind of a dumb comment because we have to revisit this to go up, but we have to get all the liquidity. The market makers are going to want all the liquidity prior to moving up. So what's going to happen is it's going to come up, which in 2 days is pretty bananas, but came up, it ended up in this range. If you look, probably and this is on the Coinbase chart, and it looks like the absolute high was 73,709, 73,835. So 73,800 and 35. And then coming over here today, we are currently at a high of, I'm literally looking right up here in case you're curious. The H is for the high of the day, the lower of the day, the close of the day, and this is the open of the day. So if I hover over that candle, we are at 73.6. That's pretty dang close, my friends. Like I said in my update the other day, definitely going to visit up here at kind of at some point, or maybe it was earlier today. I can't remember. It must have been earlier today. But then we're going to get rejected. As you can see, it's kind of already happening. The question is, where does it find support before we kind of take off? So this is definitely on the daily time frame, and there's really a couple levels that I'm looking at. The number one level that I'm looking at is obviously this yellow line right here. I don't think this is enough support to really justify it stopping here. I think over the next couple of days, probably by what day is it is Tuesday. Yeah, so probably midweek reversal. I think it'll probably stagger somewhere around here. And then on Thursday and Friday, especially because we got non-farm payroll, we might see a little bit of a sell-off and retest this 69 with high confidence. So that's not really the level that I'm looking at to add to orders. I'm really looking for a retest of kind of this line, come down maybe over the next couple of days, really kind of touch this, kind of the top of this range, and then go back up. So as you've seen me kind of draw before, it's up, down, up, down, up, down. When we break out, we want to come back down. We want to test a level and then boom, there we go, right? We can finally go up. And that is kind of the confirmation that we need. So we don't buy, really kind of when it's running like this, kind of don't want to buy the green candles. We want to buy the red candles when it's coming down here. If it holds this level, cool. After it bounces up, great. I'll buy it probably somewhere right around here. Probably more importantly, what I'm going to do is add to my altcoin orders. But for right now, that is the main thing that we're looking at. There's really nothing to do. We're still kind of in the same thing. We're starting to break out of it. I'm literally just looking for confirmation, and then we'll rock and roll from there. The other thing is we talked about Bitcoin confidence, Bitcoin dominance the other day. Let me go to a weekly time frame. this box in here we've kind of been looking at and saying, hey, there's a lot of resistance in here. Where does it stop? No one knows. Benjamin Cowan has said forever that 60%. Dr. Benjamin Cowan said that 60% Bitcoin dominance is kind of the threshold that we really are aiming at. And so obviously it's been climbing. So really the question is really, where do we go from here? Chances are, now that we're kind of in this range, it's really funny that it happens to be right at the top of this box that I just randomly drew. Just remember, there wasn't really a specific thing, or maybe I did draw it right to about 60. But between this red line that I had, and then we drew it up here, it's going to be in this way. And then it might start to decrease. And when Bitcoin dominance comes down, that's really where we start to, consider it altcoin season. Not always, but you could call it altcoin season. Total 3. Oh yeah, here we go. So I've already marked this one too. All right, so total 3 is all of the money in crypto except for Bitcoin and except for Ethereum, which is basically all the altcoins, right? I have a little marker right here that hasn't quite been tagged yet, doesn't look like, but this is just a little bit of a reminder, hey, we could get altcoin season breakout right here, which probably just means that a lot of money is flying to altcoins. There's really a lot of money going to altcoins today. Obviously, everything's pumping. You can see everything's green over here. Probably the better thing to look at, though, is the Ethereum Bitcoin pair. Now, instead of looking at Bitcoin USD, which is what's the value of Bitcoin in US dollars, this is the value of Ethereum in Bitcoin. And you can see it's been doing just poo-poo, just not great. And we are down here in some strong support. What's my level? So it hasn't really even hit my level yet. I'm still expecting the valuation of Ethereum to continue falling, just meaning that if I have money in Bitcoin, it's doing better right now. And when this reverses, the Ethereum will do better than Bitcoin. Not that anybody really needs to go dig into that, just because you'll drive yourself crazy trying to trade this stuff. It is a completely different way of thinking, I will say. But once you get addicted, you're in, you know what I'm saying? So here is a good example of these are essentially altcoins failing due to Bitcoin. So let me find another one. Why can't I think? ADA Bitcoin pair. It should also be going down. Pretty much the same thing, right? So really kind of coming down, really right here is where you could say, hey, well, actually anywhere between here and here, you could say, I'm going to sell my Bitcoin going to ADA, and ADA will outperform Bitcoin, meaning that this chart will go up. But again, I wouldn't necessarily just use that for educational purposes. Let's see. Lastly, we talked about, man, I always feel like I'm going to miss something. I want to make this one quick. Oh, I got something cool to show you. I pulled this up. This is one of the indicators that I look at. And what's funny is I haven't been able to look at it in the past couple of months because it was, you've seen me talk about this before. It was a site called Look Into Bitcoin. They got bought out by Bitcoin Magazine, which is kind of interesting. But this is the Bitcoin hash ribbon. Now, this isn't necessarily an indicator of, for me, this is a confirmation signal of essentially really when the bull market kind of starts. So the way to think about this is the people who are the miners, the people who turn their computers on and they use that compute power to solve the problems that ultimately confirm the Bitcoin transactions. Those are called the miners. And those miners at a certain point, it's not profitable to keep the computers on, meaning the cost of the electricity, say, is $100, and let's say on average you're making $80. Well, that's a negative, that's a losing business. You can only do that for so long, and at a certain point they turn them off. And when they turn them off, there's less compute power going to the Bitcoin network, which is okay. There's a stupid amount going right now. But all this red is what's called miner capitulation. And the only reason I'm showing you this is literally back over here, when we look, like, for example, we'll look at this high right here. This is in 2021. And when we look at 2021, what I'm going to show you is that really this blue line and this purple line, when it crosses, this is kind of what this chart is indicating. This is when the red pops in or pops off. This is essentially what is the bull market. So the amount of compute power is going up enough to say, hey, the miners are profitable. They're going to continue to be profitable. Probably good to turn on your computer, and it's probably going up from here. Now, obviously that's at $44,000. So that's not exactly like the hottest thing, but come look back over here. The last time it happened, that's at $18,000, which obviously would be a really great time to buy Bitcoin. But more importantly, again, we're looking for when it crosses between the purple and the blue. So let's just kind of highlight this top little section. And really what you have is kind of this area where they had capitulated. We do have a little bit more of a pattern over here, but we came out of it right around here. So on October 10th, so a couple of weeks ago, really crossing out of it, I like for it to separate. Like I like to see this kind of thing more than this, because it can kind of play back and forth as well. Again, this is not an indication of like, hey, this is confirmation, it's the bull market now. Again, I simply use this as I have already made up my mind. I have 3 or 4 things that already tell me I'm going long. The long term is here. We're going up from here. And then I look for indicators like this to say, okay, is the mining network, is our on-chain data kind of repeating the same thing? And so right around 66, you could see that it kind of made that flip here in the long run. So we should be going up from here according to this little thing. So anyway, just thought I would show you that. That's fun. This has tons of other stuff if you ever just want to go and really take a minute and kind of go through all their charts. Most of them are free now. But this is an indicator that kind of says the bull market is starting. This is not a good indicator for when it is ending, though. Doesn't tell you anything. But there's other ones in here that do again as confirmation. There's a lot of on-chain metrics that are really great. Also the you can't really see it. It's not really in the screen. That's okay. You get the point. Where's the other? Where are my cycles? Okay, so we've obviously talked about stock to flow. It's on here as well, allegedly, if the internet will load. And here we go with this. One of the things that I like to look at with the stock to flow, assuming this model continues to work, which based on the fundamentals of this asset known as Bitcoin, it should. You can pretty much zoom in. You can really start looking at the green stuff. When it starts turning green, that's really obviously the tops, right? Here's kind of our oversold. Here's kind of our bull market kind of a thing. You can see that we are in a, what is that? Orange yellow. So we're coming out of the red and we're coming down. We'll eventually up into the green, wherever that's going to be. But this is one of the things that I'm going to look at. I won't go through all these other ones. I've showed you the rainbow chart on here and all this other stuff. But for now, this is all I just wanted to say is that, right now I'm going to go back to the hourly chart and I'm going to look at, again, this is the Bitcoin chart on the hourly. Each one of these candles is an hour. So this is it taking off. I want to look at what does it look like as a sell-off. So the bigger the wicks get, the more selling pressure there's going to be, which just means when I look at the daily chart, like for example, the main thing I'm looking at specifically today is where do we close in 3 hours and 38 minutes. If literally this sells off all the way down to here, that's not good. As far as, we're probably going to come down and retest 65, if not 60 with that much selling pressure. I just don't think we're going to see that much selling pressure, but you just never know. The markets are kind of crazy. So in a perfect world, what I'd like to see is I would like to see it basically stall out around this line. Tomorrow we'll have a pump back up. And then it'll sell back off and it'll work its way down to either this line or this line. And once I receive confirmation, meaning it comes down like this, I get a big wick on the bottom, and then I get a confirmation candle that closes above like this. It's like, cool, we'll just wait for the retrace. We'll buy back in, which will be somewhere in the lower ranges, whenever that is, and we'll kind of go from there. And specifically in like my IRA, if you have if you have a self-directed retirement account, this is the ETF. Now this chart looks absolutely horrendous, but this is the Bitcoin chart. It's kind of mimicking. This is the the iShares, which is BlackRock. You can see that it's breaking out again. When it comes back down, this would be time to add to your orders. And probably more importantly, for people who are interested in investing in Ethereum in their stock portfolio or anything like that, you just don't want to deal with the custodial pieces of it. I have both because it's there's a tax advantage play for doing it in like a Roth. And so I might as well buy some of these shares. But for example, Ethereum, as I showed you in the Ethereum to Bitcoin chart, Ethereum is just tanking compared to the value of Bitcoin. So when Bitcoin confirms that it's going to be going up, I can add to the orders of Ethereum. And obviously I kind of already have some alerts set up in here, but you get the idea. The point is this hasn't really pumped. And so from a valuation standpoint, from a where's it going to go standpoint, you could argue it's going to go up quite a bit, but here's an ETF that is it's underperforming. That's basically the whole point. So that's it. I hope that's helpful. We'll see you at, whatever, 70,000, 69,000, 65,000, 60,000, whatever. And then we'll probably see it like at 100K. The last thing I will say is I drew a dumb line on one of these charts. Well, I'll make another video of that. Is I did another analysis of like, where could we be going? I guess we have all year to talk about that next year. So we'll keep it going. Hope you're doing well. Take care of yourself. And don't forget, we're going to take some profits eventually. And it'll be nice. See you in the future.